welcome to another episode of the Packet Educational Video Series. Today we're going to continue looking at the 5 essential strokes for advancing your rudimental vocabulary. These are starting on page 3-3 and continue through 3-5. In the last video we looked at the fingers, which was the first of the 5 strokes. If you have not seen the page 3-3 fingers video, then I would love for you to stop now and go back and watch that video first. Because before we can do any of the other 4 strokes, having a good control over our fingers is essential. If you have looked at that video, then let's continue on. All right, the second of the 5 essential strokes is what I call the tut-dubadu stroke. And basically this is broken into 2 parts. A staccato accent followed by low taps or fingers. So we have accent followed by fingers. So tut-dubadu. And so basically the skill we're working on is to go from a relaxed staccato accent to a fast low end, which happens a lot in flam rudiments especially. So if I'm playing flam accents, flam paradiddles, and other assortment of hybrid rudiments or even non-rudiment parts, which are just accents with fast low-end notes. So we're gonna look at the tut-dubadu. Let's break it down real quick and then we'll play a few exercises with it. So like I said, the first part of it is a staccato stroke or for the accent. And I wanna make sure that on this staccato accent, like we've talked about before in the other videos, it's a completely relaxed stroke. I'm not adding any extra tension in my arm or in my hand. I'm only using the weight of my hand to stop the stroke. And then after that, I'll add my low fingers, which is dubadu part of the stroke. And so that gives us our tut-dubadu, tut-dubadu. Relaxed accent, low fingers. Now if I slow it down, you'll notice that the dubadu, or the fingers, are actually being played by the wrist, which is fine when it's slow enough to handle that. All right, the first exercise of tut-dubadu is an 8th note skeleton and then 16th notes on the fingers part, or the dubadu part. So we're gonna start slow so we can really analyze the heights. So 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, So we're starting with a slower rhythm because it gives us time to analyze not only how well we're playing it, but also a part of the stroke that I want you to pay extra attention to. And that is, after I play my staccato accent, the next hit is its own separate motion. And when I hear people try to combine the accent into the tap, that's where we start hearing this sound. So there's no clear break between the accent and the next hit. So make sure when you're breaking this down that you're thinking hit, 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 hit. I'm separating the 2 parts. Hit, 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 hit. And that just keeps you from falling into the taps too quickly, which I call dropping your taps. And that's a mistake we hear a lot when we're listening to drum lines play. Another thing you're going to work on at this slower tempo is making sure that any tension that is created in your staccato doesn't carry over into the low end. And that's why we want to be as relaxed as we can with our staccato, or else we'll have this. And that tension doesn't allow me to use a relaxed wrist or my fingers. So you're also, am I relaxed enough on the staccato without being so relaxed that I lose control of when to play the taps. So it's kind of walking in between those two, and that's why we work it slow. When I've taken the first line in 3/4 and I've cranked the tempo up enough to get a little harder and a little harder, then what we'll do is we'll change the rhythm by changing it into triplets instead of eighth notes. And that allows me to slow my tempo back down and still push my speed in the stroke. So if I go to triplets, I now have a slower tempo I'm working with, but faster strokes that I can practice. So that gives you more room to back up the metronome and now speed it all back up again. So now we're doing the second exercise of the tut-dubadu in triplets. Good. The last part of this section is the third exercise in the tut-dubadu, and this is now where we do what's called a finger add-on. So each time we play the pattern, the next time we go through it, we're going to add more low-end fingers, so we're building up the amount of fingers I'm asked to play, and that's going to build up my skill on being able to keep my fingers going. So we start with the tut-dubadu. Then we have our add-on. So I added to 4 tut-dubadus instead of 3. And then from there, I have a little check that gets me back to the beginning. And you can see now that I'm going to add on each time I get to the next pattern. And in the last pattern, we're going to do fingers all the way through, but then we're going to switch right to the left hand and not repeat the right hand. So I don't want to do the fingers into an accent because that's not what this stroke is about. The stroke is about going from the accent into the fingers. All right, like with any of these strokes that are a single hand stroke, you can do these strokes in a double stop form. So instead of just doing right hand only or left hand only, I can also add it in as a double stop. And an exercise I really like to do to get this stroke to be tut-dubadu and then become flam accents is to do right hand only, left hand, double stop, then split. So the whole time the tut-dubadu was still going, but then when I split them, it becomes the flam accent. Okay, the reason tut-dubadu is so important is because it's half of a very important rudiment, the flam accent. And so I'm going to show you what I mean by that in case you haven't seen this before. I'm going to take my flam accents and then I'm going to move the left hand to the soft part of the pad so you can hear what the right hand's playing. And then I'm going to remove it. Put it back. So the tut-dubadu is literally flam accent split in half. And so by working one side and then working the other side and then putting them together, you're basically making the rudiment that much better. So if I can do tut-dubadu at a speed like this, I'm literally already playing the flam accents at that speed. So then it's just a matter of putting them together to create the flam accent. But the essential part of it's already taken care of. All right, so work your tut-dubadus, relaxed staccato strokes, great finger work on the low end at 3 inches, and next time we'll work on the third of the 5 essential strokes. Grab your sticks, grab your pad, and get to practicing.